I am M. Meena Kumari, Assistant Professor, Department of ECE, working in Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. I am going to handle the subject electromagnetic waves. Subject code is U18 PCEC 404. And today we are going to discuss about the topic vector algebra. The topics we are going to discuss in here are introduction of your electromagnetics. Next one is your various quantities used in your electromagnetics. Next is what do you mean by unit vector, what is position vector, scalar and vector fields, vector algebra, and then in vector algebra we will see about addition of two vectors, subtraction of vectors, and then vector multiplication, scalar multiplication, and then properties of your dot product, and then applications of the dot product and vector product. Now we will see introduction about your electromagnetics. Electromagnetics is nothing but the study of the effect of the charges at rest and charges in motion. Some special cases of electromagnetics are given here. There are three special cases. One is your electrostatic. Electrostatic deals with the charges which are at rest. Next one is your magnetostatic. Magnetostatic deals with the charges in steady motion, that is called as DC. So DC is nothing but a direct current. Next one is your electromagnetic. Electromagnetic deals with the charges which vary according to the time. That is your AC current. That is your alternating current. So the charges will vary according to your time. Next, we will see some fundamental vector quantities which we use in electromagnetics. First, we will see regarding your electric field. So, electric field, first we will use electric field intensity, that is denoted as E. The unit of electric field intensity is given as volt per meter, that is denoted by V by M. Next one is the electric flux density. It is also called as a electric displacement and it is denoted as D. Its unit is coulomb per square meter. That is, it is given as C/meter square. Next is your regarding your magnetic field. Magnetic field intensity is denoted as H and its unit is ampere per meter. That is A/m. Next is your magnetic flux density, that is denoted as P and its unit is Tesla, or it is equal to Weber per square meter. So Weber is T denotes a Tesla and Weber is denoted as W into P and divided by meter square, that is a square meter. So when an event in one place has an effect on something at the different locations, then we call it as a field. So a field is a spatial distribution of the quantity and that quantity can be either a scalar quantity or it can be a vector quantity in nature. Next is your various quantities which you use in electromagnetics. So the various quantities used in electromagnetics are one is scalar and other one is a vector. So what do you mean by scalar? A scalar is a quantity whose value may be represented by a single real number. So that real number can be either a positive number or it can be a negative number. So it does not require any direction to describe that scalar function. So a scalar is a quantity which is wholly characterized by its magnitude alone and it does not require any direction. So the various examples of these scalar quantities are temperature, mass, volume, density, speed, electric charges, etc. And these are the few examples of a scalar quantity. Next is a vector quantity. So a quantity which has both magnitude as well as a direction and it will have a specific direction in space. This is called as the vector quantity. So the vector quantity can be defined by using a 2 or 3 dimensional in spaces and it can sometimes it can require n dimensional also. So a vector is a quantity which is characterized by both a magnitude as well as a direction. So the various examples of the vector quantities are can be force, velocity, displacement, electric field intensity, magnetic field intensity and acceleration, etc. Next, we will discuss about unit vector. So what do you mean by unit vector? A unit vector is also a vector but whose magnitude will be equal to 1. So that is called as the magnitude of the vector will be 1. So any vector can be represented as a scalar multiples of its unit vector. So that one here we will call it as a scalar. That is scalar is magnitude. That is at which we are going to multiply it. Either we can multiply it by 1 or we can multiply it by 2, 3 or 4 n numbers. So here see we have a vector here. So the vector is from the origin point O to the point A. So the unit vector can be given as A vector of OA. This OA denotes the direction. That is, the vector travels from the point O to A. So this is your unit vector of OA vector. So see here, this is your three axis, that is a Cartesian coordinate system. Here we have x axis, y axis and z axis, and this O denotes their origin. So the unit vector of x axis is given as ax vector. The unit vector of y axis is given as ay vector, and the unit vector of z axis is given as az vector. So to find out the unit vector of a vector means, then the formula is given as a vector of OA vector is equal to OA vector divided by modulus of OA. Next, what do you mean by position vector? So see again here there is a Cartesian coordinate system. So in this system we have your x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. Here we have a point P which has all the three values, that is in x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So now we have to denote the position of the P vector from the origin. So R is nothing but the distance of the P vector from the origin. So it can be represented as R vector is equal to x into I vector plus y into j vector plus z into k vector. Before that we have seen position of a single point. Now consider there are 2 points, that is point P and point Q. So the point P is represented in 3 axes, that is in a x1, y1, z1, and point Q lies in x2, y2, z2. So now we have to find out the distance between these 2 points. So this P and Q will make it as a PQ vector. So first we will represent the P vector. So P vector can be represented as x1 into ax vector plus y1 into ay vector plus z1 into az vector. Next we can represent here Q vector. So Q vector can be represented by using the points, that is x2 into ax vector plus y2 into ay vector plus z2 into az vector. So now we have to find the distance between these 2 points. So how we will find out the distance between these 2 points? First we have to subtract the Q vector from P vector. Okay. So PQ vector can be obtained by Q vector minus P vector. That is x2 minus x1 into ax vector plus y2 minus y1 into ay vector plus z2 minus z1 into az vector. So to obtain the modulus of this vector, we have to take the square root. So modulus of PQ vector will be given as square root of x2 minus x1 into x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square plus z2 minus z1 the whole square. So to obtain the unit vector along the vector PQ. So what is the formula? Then the unit vector of this PQ vector will be obtained by PQ vector divided by modulus of PQ. So this is how we can obtain a unit vector of a 2 position vectors. So first we have to find out the distance between these 2 vectors. Then we have to take the modulus for that distance. So then we will obtain our unit vector along the PQ. Next, scalar and vector fields. So a field is a region in which a particular physical function has a value at which each and every point in that region. So the distribution of the scalar quantity with a definite position in a space is called as a scalar field. So for example, temperature of the atmosphere. So it has a definite value in the atmosphere, but it will never have a direction. That is specific direction. So it is called as a scalar field. Next example, we can see that the height of the surface of the earth above the sea level. So we will calculate only the height. We will doesn't calculate from which direction the height is. So we will need only the height of the surface from the sea level. So this is the another example of a scalar field. Next, few other examples if we see means that is sound intensity in an auditorium, then light intensity in a room, then atmospheric pressure in the given region. So these are the few examples for our scalar field. Next is our vector field. So if a quantity which is specified in a region to define a field is a vector, then the corresponding field is called as a vector field. For example, the gravitational force of a force on a mass. So always the gravitational force will be towards downwards, okay, towards the earth, that is downward direction. So here it gives the direction as well as the magnitude of the force. So this is called as a vector field. Next, we will see about vector algebra. So the mathematical operations performed with the vector algebra are: one is scaling, addition, subtraction. So what do you mean by scaling? Scaling of the vector is nothing but multiplication of a scalar to a vector. That is, we are going to multiply the vector by a scalar. Scalar we know that is a magnitude alone. So a vector will be multiplied by a magnitude. So such a multiplication may changes the magnitude of the vector, but it will not change its direction. But here there is a note: if the scalar is only positive, it will not change the direction of the vector. Suppose if the scalar is a negative, it will change the direction of the vector. So first we will take a scalar. So we will denote the scalar as alpha. So alpha is the scalar with which vector is going to be multiplied. So we will have three conditions. So first we will keep alpha is greater than 1. If alpha is greater than 1, what will happen to the vector means if it gets multiplied by that alpha, the magnitude of the vector will get increased, but the direction will not be changed. The direction will be same. If alpha value is less than 1 means, then the magnitude of the vector will get decreased, and again the direction remains the same. Suppose if your alpha value is equal to -1, then the magnitude will remains the same, but the direction of the vectors will get reversed. So that we will see in this diagram. So see, this A vector is the original vector. Now we will consider its amplitude as 1. So now see, this is the scalar. Okay. So if the value of the scalar should be greater than 1, that is our first condition. If we take the alpha value is equal to 2, consider this magnitude as 1. So if this A vector is multiplied by that scalar, then it will be 2 into 1. Then the resultant vector will be 2. The magnitude of the resultant vector will be 2. So if this is the condition for alpha is greater than 1. Next, consider this as the original vector. So whose magnitude is 2. Okay. So now consider the alpha value as 0.5, because for our second condition, the alpha value should be less than 1. So 2 into 0.5 will give the resultant of magnitude of 1. So the length of the, that is the magnitude of the vector, has been reduced from 2 to 1. So this will occur when alpha value is less than 1. Next, see here, this is the original vector, that is your A vector. So this A vector is multiplied by -1 because the alpha value is equal to -1. So this is the in the direction of from left to right. So if it is multiplied by -1, the direction of the vector has been changed, that is from right to left. So it will be denoted as -A vector. So the direction of the vector will be changed when it is multiplied with -1. So here, if the alpha value is negative, then the magnitude of the vector changes by alpha times, which comes exactly opposite to the direct original vector after the multiplication. Next, we will see addition of vectors. So here, consider two vectors. One is your A vector, other one is your B vector. So the A vector is from 0 to A and the B vector is from 0 to B. So now we are going to add these two vectors. So the procedure is to move one of the two vectors which is parallel to itself at the tip of the other vector. So thus we are going to move A vector parallelly itself to the tip of the B vector. See here in this diagram it is given. That is, this A vector has been moved parallelly to the tip of the B vector. So now the tip of the, you have to join the tip of the A vector and then origin. So this will gives the resultant C vector. So the C vector is nothing but A vector plus B vector. So to remember that either A vector can be moved or you can move the B vector parallelly. So another point which we notice is if the B vector is moved parallel to itself to the tip of the A, then we will get the same resultant C vector. So there will not be any change in the resultant if we change the order. So if we add the two vectors, A vector plus B vector will give the same resultant. Otherwise, if B plus A will also give the same resultant. Next, another method of performing this addition of vector is called as a parallelogram rule. So first we have two vectors. Consider the two vectors, that is A vector and then B vector. We have to complete it as a parallelogram. Then we have to join it diagonally. Then this diagonal gives the resultant vector C vector. So by using these two methods, not only two vectors, we can add n number of vectors also. So for example, if we consider there are four vectors, means one of the vector, that is can be added by shifting these vectors one by one to the tip of the other vector, and this method is called as a head to tail rule of addition of vectors. So once the coordinate systems are defined, then the vectors can be expressed in terms of the components along the axis of the coordinate system. Then by adding the corresponding components of the vectors, the components of the vector, resultant vector, which is given by the addition of the vectors. So see here, these are the four vectors. Here we have A vector, B vector, C vector and D vector. So these are the four vectors which we are going to add by the rule of head to tail method. So see here, first we will take the A vector. So this is the origin and it ends with A. So this is here A vector. Then we have to join the B vector to the head of the A vector. So this is the tip of the, that is tail of the B vector. The tail has to be joined to the tip of the head of your previous vector A vector. So similarly, join the C vector to the head of the B. And next we are going to add the D vector, that is we are going to join the D vector to the head of the C vector. Now join the origin and then tip of the head of the D vector. So this gives the resultant, that is R. So finally the R vector is nothing but A vector, sum of A vector plus B vector plus C vector plus D vector. So this is the head and tail method. Next we will see some laws, that is your cumulative law for addition as well as the multiplication by a scalar. So for addition it is given as A vector plus B vector will be equal to B vector plus A vector, and multiplication if alpha into A vector will be equal to A into alpha. Then associative law, if we have three vectors, that is A, B, C, if we add A plus B plus C, it will give A plus B plus C. Then in multiplication by the scalar, if we have two scalars, that is beta and alpha. First we will multiply A vector with alpha, then we will multiply that together with beta, that is beta of alpha into A vector, which will be also equal to beta into alpha of A vector. So next is your distributive. So in distributive, alpha into A plus B vector, which is equal to alpha into A vector plus alpha into B vector. So by multiplication by scalar, alpha plus B in alpha plus beta into A vector, which is equal to alpha into A vector plus beta into A vector. So this is the basic laws for your vector algebra. Next we will see about subtraction of the vector. So to subtract two vectors, the subtraction of the two vectors can be obtained from the rule of the addition itself. That what we have to do is, we have to invert any one of the vector by multiplying it by -1. So see here, if here the B vector is going to be get reversed. That is the direction of the B vector has to be reversed by multiplying it by -1. So if you multiply this B vector by -1 means then we will obtain minus B vector in the opposite direction. So now we have to join the A vector and B vector by using a parallelogram rule. Then if we have the result, if we obtain the resultant vector C vector, then C vector is nothing but A vector minus B vector. So this is how we will obtain subtraction by in terms of addition. Next, vector multiplication. So this vector multiplication allows us to transform the vectors from one coordinate system to another. So there are three types. One is a multiplication of a scalar by a vector. That is multiplication of vector by a scalar. Then it is called as a scalar multiplication, as we have already discussed in your previous slide, previously. Next is a multiplication of one vector by the second vector. That is vector into vector multiplication, and this will produce a scalar. So this is called as a dot product, or it is also called as a scalar product. Next, multiplication of one vector by a second vector. So this will produce another vector, and this is called as a cross product or vector product. Next, we will see about a scalar product. The scalar product is also called as a dot product. So now the scalar product or the dot product of the two vectors, that is A vector and B vector, is denoted as A vector dot B vector. And it defines as the product of the magnitude of A vector and product of the B vector and the cosine of the smaller angle between them. That is, which two vectors we are going to multiply, the two vectors angle between them. So it can also be defined as the product of the magnitude of B vector and projection of the A vector onto B or vice versa. So the mathematical representation of this is given by A vector dot B vector is equal to modulus of A vector into modulus of B vector into cos theta of AB. This AB represents the which two vectors we are going to multiply. So the resultant of such a dot product is called nothing but a scalar. Hence we will call it as a scalar product. Next, what are the properties of the dot product? First, we will see the first property. So that is A vector dot B vector will give modulus of A vector, modulus of B vector, and then smaller cosine angle of the between these two vectors. So the smaller angle between A and B vector can be identified by using a dot product. Next, the A vector dot B vector will be equal to 0. When means when any one of the vector is perpendicular. That is, if two vectors are perpendicular to each other, then A vector dot B vector will tends to 0. Next is your commutative law. So commutative law, A vector dot B vector will be equal to B vector dot A vector. Next is distributive. So in distributive, A vector dot B vector plus C vector will be equal to A vector dot B vector plus A vector dot C vector. Then the dot product of perpendicular unit vector will be equal to 0, that we already seen here. That is, if A vector is perpendicular to B vector, then its product will be equal to 0. So here, if it is between x-axis and y-axis, if x-axis and y-axis are perpendicular to each other, and then y-axis and z-axis are perpendicular to each other, and if z-axis and x-axis are perpendicular to each other, then if we multiply these two vectors, then the resultant will be equal to 0. So next is A vector dot B vector, which will be equal to modulus of A vector square. Next is add multiplication of same vectors, that is A vector dot A vector, AY vector dot A vector, AZ vector dot AZ vector will be equal to 1. So in Cartesian coordinate system, it will be represented as A vector dot B vector, which is equal to AX into BX plus AY into BY plus AZ into BZ. So the component of P vector in the direction of unit vector, that is A vector, is obtained by P vector dot A vector. Next, the component of P vector in the direction of Q is obtained by P vector dot AQ vector, where AQ is nothing but a unit vector. Here the unit vector is given directly, but here it is given in the direction of Q. So we have to find out what is the unit vector of your Q vector. So this will be obtained with the formula P vector dot Q vector divided by modulus of Q. Next, applications of the dot product. So there are three applications. First, this is useful to determine the angle between two vectors. So the formula to find out the angle between two vectors will be theta is equal to cos inverse of A vector dot B vector divided by modulus of A vector into modulus of B vector. Next, we can obtain the component of the vector in the given direction. So now consider the vector P vector and a unit vector A vector. So this is a P vector and this is a unit vector A vector. So the component of P vector in the direction of the unit vector can be obtained, but the resultant will be a scalar product. So how we can obtain means P dot A vector will be equal to modulus of P vector into modulus of A vector into cos theta. So since it is a unit vector, its magnitude will be 1. So the formula will be changed as P vector into cos theta. So these are the two applications. Third application is physically work done by the constant force can be expressed as the dot product of two vectors. So if we considered a constant force F acting on a body and it causes the displacement of that body, then the work done is nothing but the product of the force and the component of the displacement in the direction of the force. So this will be expressed as work done, that is W is equal to modulus of F into D into cos theta. So this is D, F is one vector, D is one vector. So we can write this as F vector dot D vector. So, but if the force applied varies along the path, then we need to calculate the total work done. So this can be obtained by using the integral of the dot product. So for that formula is W is equal to integral of F vector dot dl vector. So dl is nothing but the displacement length of the path where the force has been applied. Next is a vector product or cross product. So if we take a vector product means then C vector is equal to A vector cross B vector. That is the cross product of two vectors will be say how perpendicular they are to each other. That is the magnitude is given as modulus of C vector will be equal to A vector cross B vector, which is equal to A dot B, that is A into B into sine theta. So where theta is the smaller angle between the two vectors A and B. Next, the cross products of any parallel vectors will be equal to 0. In dot product, we have seen the dot product of two perpendicular vectors will be equal to 0. But in cross product, if the vectors are parallel to each other, then it will be tends to 0. The dot cross product is maximum for the perpendicular vectors. And the cross product of the Cartesian unit vectors is given as I vector cross j vector will give the third vector. And then I vector cross k vector will give the minus j vector. Then j vector cross k vector will give I vector. So cross product of two same identical vectors will give the value of 0. That is, if it is I vector cross I vector will be equal to 0, j vector cross j vector will be equal to 0, and k vector cross k vector will be equal to 0. So the direction. So the C is perpendicular, the resultant C vector will be perpendicular to both here A vector and then B vector. So first place here A vector and B vector, that is tail to tail. So it will be here, first we will consider a right hand. So the four fingers will point along the first vector, that is A vector. So if we sweep this, then it will be moved to B vector. So through a smaller angle. So it will make a small angle theta. Okay, so your outstretched thumb will give the direction of the C vector. So the A vector cross B vector will give minus B vector cross A vector. That is, it will not give B vector cross A vector, the direction will be changed. That is, A vector cross B vector will be equal to minus B vector cross A vector. See here these are the two vectors, that is A vector and B vector. If A is moved into B, okay, so consider a screw here. So if we are rotating the screw in the anti-clockwise direction means then the movement of the screw will be upward. That is, its unit vector will be towards the upward direction. And see here, if we are moving A to B, that is in opposite direction, that is in a clockwise direction means then the screw will move downwards. So here AN vector will be towards the downward direction. So this will give, the formula will be A cross B vector will be obtained by modulus of A vector, modulus of B vector into sine theta of AB into unit vector AN. So the AN will direction will depends upon the movement of the two vectors. If it is if A is moved into B means then that is in a upward direction, then your an will be in upward direction. If here, if a is moved into b, that is in downward direction, that is in your clockwise direction, means then an vector will be towards your downward direction. This an is the unit vector perpendicular to the plane of your a and b. In the direction will be your right hand screw rule. So theta will be nothing but the smaller angle between your a and b vector. Next, vector product or the cross products, these are the properties. So a vector cross b vector will not be equal to b vector cross a vector, but it will be equal to minus of b vector cross a vector. Then a vector cross b vector plus c vector will be equal to a vector cross b vector plus a vector cross c vector. So for parallel vectors, the cross product will be equal to 0. That is, a cross a vector will be equal to 0. That is same identical vectors, the unit vectors of same vector, that is a vector of x. Ax vector cross ax vector, and then ay vector cross ay vector, and az vector cross az vector will be tends to 0. So this is your anti-clockwise direction result. So if it rotates like this, then your ax vector cross ay vector will give your az vector. And see, in clockwise direction, that is, the negative result will be obtained. If ax vector is multiplied by az vector, and you will obtain minus ay vector. We will wind up. So thank you.